All right, so let's go through your syllabus real quick, and then we'll get into the class. So this is Marriage and Family 2. Most of the stuff from Marriage and Family 1, we're not just elaborating on that, but there are 2 concepts from Marriage and Family 1 that I think are important that I'm going to touch on today, just so that those of you that weren't in that class at least have that in the back of your head. And so the idea behind this class is godly homes, godly marriages, understanding what it takes to do that they don't just happen, right? That there are things that we have to do. We work at it, and so that's the gist of the class. There's a lot of things that we'll get into, but first let's just do the nuts and bolts stuff here of the syllabus. Make sure everybody's on the same page. So the book for this class is smaller than a normal textbook, but it's a good one. So just go ahead and I would knock that one out first. Particularly, if you're only in one class, then obviously it's the first one. But if you're taking the full load, you've got all 3 classes, you could knock that one out real quick. So you've got your reading quiz in week 7, right? Just log on, take that, 45 minutes, open book, no big deal. You've got your 3 discussion boards, like always. Log in. We're not doing the reply posts, right? So just write your regular answers to the questions on there. You'll notice that you have 2 assignments, 2 papers. Week 4, you've got a biblical marriage paper. And then week 7, you've got a family research paper, right? So marriage and family is the name of the class. So we kind of split it a little bit, right? So some of it is going to be about godly marriage. Some of it is going to be about godly family, godly home life, that kind of thing. And so in your assignments, you've got 2. One is going to be geared towards marriage. The other one is going to be geared towards just the home in general, right? So the biblical marriage paper, this one we're going to use the Bible as the primary source, as opposed to the family one. You're going to do more of a research project with that one. So the marriage paper, we'll deal with that one first. Find 3 scriptures, right, that deal with godliness in marriage. So whatever 3 you want to find, there are 3 in there, I promise. And train up a child in the way they should go is not one of them. That's not one of the marriage scriptures. Just kidding. It was actually supposed to be a joke, so hopefully the online students laugh when they hear that. Yeah, train up a child in the way they should go. It's not how you should treat your husband or wife. All right. Okay. It's all good. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I can hear the online people laughing, so it's good. All right. So anyway, so the idea is you're going to look for these 3 scriptures. That's going to be the foundation of your paper, right? That's going to be the foundation of your thoughts. This one is not so much a research paper like the family one is. This one I want you to think through. So you're going to use the scriptures as your foundation, and it's going to be some of your own philosophy that you're going to apply or use based on these scriptures. What do these scriptures mean to you? How do you make that work inside the home, right? So we want to take these scriptures and make sure we understand how that applies to our life. How can we take these particular, whichever ones you choose that deal with godliness and marriage, and so write about how you're going to take that into the home, right? You can make it a very practical paper, and like I said, you don't need sources other than just the Word. This one's going to be more your own reflective thinking as opposed to research, outside sources kind of thing. With the family paper, we're going to do more of a research kind of thing. So in that one, I want you to do some sources. I want you to go to either some online websites, articles, external books, something, to get some extra sources for that one. And it's basically a topic of your choosing, right? So something dealing with the family, right? So it could be parenting, if that's you. If parenting is not in your future, it's in your past, then you can skip right over that one if you want. Family devotions. What I mean by that is establishing that culture of that the family seeks the Lord together and separately, however you want to do that. But family devotion, that's a huge step that would seem obvious, but rarely gets done, right? So Melissa and I, every week, we take time and we put in a sermon of some kind, and that's just our night together where we do church together at the house. So some of our most powerful times in the Spirit have come just there at the home. When God put on our heart to leave and to go travel, that came out of one of our home services. And then as I was telling some of the other people in the first class when we were just out in the lobby, the Lord had told us that we were going to be coming back long before anybody at Calvary knew. There was a sermon in our home service that we were doing, me and Nellie, where the pastor started preaching on, it was a prophetic word about going back and rebuilding the altars. And instantly I knew in my spirit that God was sending us back. And I turned over to Alyssa. I said, that's a word for us. I said, the altars were always the place of worship. And I feel like we're going to go back and God's going to have you rebuild the altars of worship at that church. And then the very next Sunday when we were at the church that we were out in Orlando, someone from Calvary popped in to visit up there just to see the church. And we ran into him in the hallway and they said, you know, I've always thought that God's going to bring you back one of these days. I mean, I may be crazy, but it's just something I was thinking. And then they walked on. And so, and that was just like 2 days after our private church. And then later, you know, then we get the word from Pastor, hey, you know, if we needed you, would you be willing, you know? And so they didn't know, but we knew that because of all that had happened, that it was going to be something where the Lord was bringing her back. But I said, I feel like, because the word was about rebuilding the altars, and I said, I think it's worship, but I said, I think it's going to be you and not me. And it's just, that's exactly the way that it did. And that week, I had a dream where the Lord warned me in not so many words, even if they offered it, to not take it, that it was her coming back. I would be there, but not to take it, that he had other things for me to do. And that's exactly how it worked out. When they called us, they said, hey, you know, I know this is going to sound strange, but we don't really need Sean to come back. We need you to come back. And I think they were worried they were going to upset us, but God had already prepared us for that, you know. And so we said, no, that's the only way we can do it, is if it's that way, you know. And so it worked out good. So anyways, the reason I say that is because those are the types of things that come out of home devotions, right? That you need that. And so what we do is we have a full collection of sermons. And so I'll just pray about it. Lord, maybe lead me to one. We'll put that in. That will be the preaching for the night. And then we'll put in just worship. And just kind of dim the lights, pop in a CD, and just worship for an hour or two after the message. And so those are good things. You need that in your home life. That does something for the unity that you have with the other person, because, you know, communication, personality, romance, they're only pieces of the puzzle. There is a spiritual component to the unity that you have with your significant other that is the real glue, right? You know, that the reason we go to Calvary, I mean, the people there are nice, but that's not why you come. You come because there's a spiritual component that's there, and what God is doing through the Spirit. And it's the same thing in your home life, that these other things are only part of the picture, right? And so we don't do the devotion time at home because we need the extra teaching, per se. We do that at home because we need time where it's just us together in the Spirit, because that does wonders for your marriage, right? It really does. And so anyway, so you could write your paper on that. Communication in the home, and I don't mean texting each other across the house. Parents as role models. You know, things like that. So if you, depending on where you're at, so we've got some students that have kids, so the parenting angle is more important to them. Some that don't, and so the family devotion time, maybe with their significant other, is more important. So I kind of leave that one open to you based on your own family structure, what seems to be more important to you. But like I said, so I want you to do some research on that one. Right? So that one's not just your own thoughts. That's one where you're going to bring in some outside sources and get some other ideas to also kind of stimulate your thinking on that paper, right? Okay. And then, like all the other classes, you've got your final week 7. I'll put up your final review online, and you can watch that. And then you've got your final is in week 8. All right. So any questions about the syllabus part, about any of the papers, any of the due dates, anything like that? Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. So let's get into this. I don't know if you want to look at this or not, but it's kind of neat. We can pass that around just while we're here. But that's this one actually is probably the more interesting one. That's the road to Damascus, where Paul would have had some of his encounters. And so when we were teaching on that,
Still not paved.
yeah, well, it was paved then.
Oh, was it?
So it's actually more of a dirt road now, but it was a paved road. So that's saying all roads lead to Rome was a literal thing. And so Rome was well known for their established roads. And so they had put these lines here, that's an aerial photograph, those are the roads that Rome had built in Israel. And so as I was teaching the class, and I'm walking them over from Dan, which is the northern part of Israel, that's saying from Dan to Beersheba. So Dan was the northernmost city. This major road here, which is the road to Damascus, was a massive road that Rome had put in. So when Paul's taking this road, Damascus was one of the 10 largest cities in the Roman Empire. And so this was a massive city that he was going to hunt for Christians. But anyway, so the neat thing is this city, Banias, is the old Caesarea Philippi, where Peter had his conversion, if you will, when he says, "Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God." When he said, "Who do people say that I am?" That was here, on the road just outside of that city, which is interesting because the road just outside of that city is the road to Damascus, where Paul had his great encounter. And so they're right in the same basic areas where Peter had his encounter where he says, "Jesus, thou art the Christ," for the first time, and where Saul had his conversion. Were very, very close in proximity. Same road. In fact, Peter's took place on the road. It says when they were on the road outside of Caesarea Philippi. So anyways, some interesting things. All right. So, but for this class, we're going to deal with marriage. So I want to, I guess what I'll do first is we'll lay just a quick foundation of 2 main concepts that we talked about in Marriage and Family 1. And then we'll kind of launch into Marriage and Family 2, just so everybody's on the same page. All right. So the first one that I think is the primary thing you need to understand is a guy's greatest motivation and a woman's greatest motivation. Right? Anybody remember this? Was anybody in Marriage and Family 1? Leah, I know you were. And is that it? Okay. Do you remember what a guy's was, Leah? Respect. And a woman's? Love. All right. Where we run into issues is often, and we'll see this in the second point that I'm going to make too, is what we give is often what we need, right? But as you can see, what guys need and what girls need is 2 different things. And so a lot of times, a woman's approach to her husband is to try and show him love, right? Which is only okay to him. You understand? What he really needs is your respect. And so study after study, and it's been proven in life after life, that what the man is really after is not so much your love. If you buy him flowers and chocolate, he'll say, "Oh, thank you." But that doesn't do it for a man. But if you're in a room full of people and you've got your husband is there and everybody's talking and you find a way to tell everybody in that room in front of your husband how good he is at something, that fills a place in his heart that the romance and things really don't. Right? And so this is one of the keys to a lot of the other discussions that we're going to have. It's not that guys don't want love. It's not that girls don't want respect. But this is the core thing that will trigger your ability to bridge a bond with the guy is the respect that you show him, right? And the thing that will trigger the woman is the love, right? And so that's an important part. And so the idea is that if you withhold, and this is a downward spiral, right? It's not Israel. It looks like Israel, but it's not. This is a downward spiral. What happens is when people get upset, they withhold, right? This. So when the guy gets upset, he withholds love, and so he'll yell or something, or he'll give her the cold shoulder, something like that. When a woman gets upset, she will often pull back the respect, and she'll start trashing him, right? And the moment that she starts trashing him, she's pulling away the respect. And when he starts feeling the respect pulled away, then he pulls back on the love that he shows. And so because she's not feeling the love anymore, she becomes even more disrespectful. And before you know it, they're fighting all the time, and they don't realize why. And so she's starving for love, he's starving for respect. And so the fights that they have are really, will perceive that as he's not really loving me, and he'll perceive that as she doesn't respect me, right? That I am not leader in this home anymore. Look at the way she talks to me, right? And so that will erode the relationship, and it's a downward spiral, because once it starts, him not showing her love causes her to withhold respect. When he starts feeling the respect withheld, then he withholds even more love, and they go back and forth. Before long, they fight over every little thing, and they don't even know why. And it's because there is an absolute drought of respect and love, and the only way out is that somebody has to break it, right? To show respect even if you feel like they don't deserve it because you're mad still, or to show love even when you feel like they don't deserve it because you're still upset about what they did, right? And so this is one of the core things. And in the Marriage and Family 1, we really go into this a lot, but I want you to at least understand this principle that when you're dealing with women and men, it's two different things, right? That this is why workplace success is so important for men. They get a lot of their respect out of what they do and what they've accomplished, right? So if you trash what he does for a living, or you make him feel bad about that, or you make him feel like he's not making enough money, or things like that, then all of a sudden, or if you yell, or if you say things to him in public, if you say things in public that that make him look bad, right? Even if you're just joking, if it makes him look bad, you got to be careful, because that erodes that. Same thing over here with the women. If you're doing things that aren't loving, if you've quit going the extra mile, things like that cause them to feel loved, buying them things, showing them attention, right? That all of a sudden, then they feel like, that there's no more love. And so anyways, this becomes a negative spiral that many marriages get caught in, and they don't know why. They just feel like there's a communication barrier and that they're not quite connecting. And a big part of that is because the woman may pour out love and wonder why it's not getting back, because really what he's after is not so much the love and the romance, although that's part of it, that at his core, a man has to feel that he's being respected in the home. So this is why the Lord has set up order, that there is order in the home. It's not that one is better than the other, but this is a godly thing. And what happens is, when there is no respect coming this way, it becomes out of order. And when there's no love coming this way, it becomes out of order. In fact, when Paul is teaching on marriage in the Bible, he says, husbands, love your wives even as Christ has loved the church. And what does he say to the wife? Submit to your husband, right? Because this is the core dynamic that goes on. Submission is about respect. It's about loving, and it's about respecting, and it's about respecting his position in the home, right? And so a lot of people have trouble with this, and it creates a lot of issues long-term in marriages. And then the other one is a book that was written by Gary Chapman. Some of you might have read it, The 5 Love Languages, right? So we talked about that quite a bit. And the theory behind the 5 love languages is that there is more than one way that people receive love. And the typical thing is that you give love in the way that you want to receive it. But your spouse may not receive love in the same way that you do. So if you're giving love in your way, they may not receive it at all. And so a classic example is if somebody is, if the wife is acts of service, and if the husband is words of affirmation, the way she receives love is if you do things for her. So she may say stuff, well, if you really love me, you'd be helping me out around the house. You'd be taking out the dishes, doing the dishes, taking out the trash. You never do any of that kind of stuff. And so she doesn't feel loved. But he's like, I tell you, I love you all the time. Because for him, it's words of affirmation. And so he's showing it in the way that he understands it, but she is a totally different form of love. And so what he's doing, he may genuinely love her, but she's not seeing it. She's not feeling it. Or the other way around. If hers is acts of service, she's like, I'm doing everything around the house that I know to do. What more do you want me to do? But with her words, she's very sharp and very biting, and she's got a sharp tongue. And so for him, that comes across as, you don't love me at all. Even though with everything she can, she's trying to do all these acts of service because that's how she understands love. And so the idea is that there are different types of expressions of love, and you typically have one or two that connect with you best, right? And so if you happen to have a partner or spouse, that doesn't share yours, then you may have to do some things that don't feel natural to you in order for them to feel loved, right? So the other ones are affection, gifts, and quality time. Quality time. So affection is physical touch. Yep. Gifts is buying things. And so some people, this is it. And so there's all kinds of confusion that can come. So the husband goes out and buys chocolate or some kind of piece of jewelry or something, and that's his expression of love. And then he goes in there and watches TV, and she's thinking, well, what happened to our quality time? Because that's what she was wanting. And this is okay. It's better than no gift, but that's not really what I wanted. I just want to spend some time with you, right? And so he walks away feeling like he showed his love. And so when she complains, he's thinking, she doesn't accept my love. I just bought her this gift, which is his expression of love, and she's now complaining, and it creates a lot of friction in the home because the one is complaining about the other, and they may have genuinely tried to express love. But because it wasn't in the way that their spouse receives it, in the way their spouse understands love, all they got was complaining as opposed to appreciation for what they did, right? And so a lot of marriages, they never get this revelation, and so there's a lot of head-butting and misunderstandings between two people that really genuinely care about each other, and they can't make it work. There is genuine love there, and they can't make it work because they don't have an understanding that what they're giving is not being received in the way that they're thinking it is when they give it, right? And so everything in his mind, maybe I need to buy you something. And so maybe he needs to hold off on that. And this may feel weird to him, but this is what she wants. And so he needs to do that. But then it has to go the other way too. She's going to want to just sit around with him and show him that. But if she doesn't buy him gifts every once in a while, he's not going to feel loved either, right? And so whatever your spouse's main way that they receive, you need to know that. You need to be aware of that. Because you could be bending over backwards trying to show them love, and then they still are upset with you, or they still don't have the connection with you that you want. And it very well could be just that you're showing the wrong kind of love for them to really genuinely connect with it, right? Okay, so those are kind of the two things from that first class that I want us to at least have in our mind as we're moving into this second one.